Higher reserve looks different. It looks like finishing your day and still having energy, handling something unexpected without it throwing everything off, adding effort without needing to compensate for it later. There's space, there's margin. That's the part most people never measure. Welcome back to the Happy Manner Podcast, proven principles for health at home. I'm your host, Dr. J, the home health physical therapist. In the last episode, I introduced the Happy Manner method, built on 4 pillars: capacity, safety, consistency, and longevity. And since that last episode, I've had a lot of people reach out, and a growing number of people signing up for the weekly newsletter, which tells me something important. People are starting to recognize that staying independent, capable, and safe at home isn't about random tips or occasional effort. It requires structure. It requires a system. And that's exactly what the Happy Manner method is designed to provide. So today, we're slowing things down a bit and zooming in on the first pillar, capacity. Because if there's one thing I see over and over again, it's this: people don't lose independence all at once. They lose it gradually by running out of physical reserve. Let's start by defining this clearly, because most people have never heard it explained this way. Capacity is your ability to handle real-life physical demands without strain, hesitation, or risk. Not your gym performance, not your step count, not whether you feel like you moved around that day. I'm talking about things like getting up from the floor without needing to think about it, carrying groceries without feeling like it's a task, walking farther than expected without planning around it, catching yourself if you trip without panic. That's capacity. And here's the part most people miss. Capacity is not about what you can do on a good day. It's about what your body can handle consistently without getting close to its limit. Because the moment everyday tasks start pushing you near your limit, you're no longer operating with freedom. You're operating with risk. And most people don't realize how close they are to that line. They think, I'm fine, I can still do what I need to do. But being able to do something and having room to do it safely, repeatedly, and without strain are 2 completely different things. And that difference is what we're going to unpack today. Because by the end of this episode, you want to understand one thing. There's a specific shift, a way of thinking about your body that changes how you approach all of this. And once you see it, you can't really unsee it. Here's the shift we need to make. Most people think about their body in terms of what they can do. But independence doesn't come from what you can do. It comes from what you have left over after you do it. That's your reserve. If your entire day takes most of your energy and effort, if normal tasks leave you needing to sit, rest, or think twice about doing more, you're operating at your limit. And for some people, that's obvious. Getting up from a chair feels effortful. Stairs require planning. Carrying groceries is a full task, not just part of the day. By the end of the day, there's not much left. But here's where this becomes more important. You can also be close to your limit and not realize it. You might go for walks regularly, stay active, and feel like you're doing pretty well. But if adding one extra demand, a longer day, a heavier load, a change in routine, throws things off and leaves you noticeably more fatigued, that tells you something. Your system is already working near its limit. You can walk a mile, but 2 miles changes your entire day. You can carry groceries, but you split them into multiple trips. You could travel, but it takes you a full day or 2 to recover. You get the picture. You're capable, but you don't have much left over. And this applies at higher levels too. You can exercise regularly, stay busy, and feel strong, but if you're constantly needing recovery, constantly feeling like you've used everything you have, that's not high reserve. That's just higher output, still close to your limit. Higher reserve looks different. It looks like finishing your day and still having energy, handling something unexpected without it throwing everything off, adding effort without needing to compensate for it later. There's space, there's margin. That's the part most people never measure. They measure what they can complete. They don't measure what it costs them to complete it. And once you start looking at your body through the lens of reserve, you start to see very clearly where things are strong and where things are closer to the edge than you thought. This is where most people unintentionally stay stuck because they believe that staying active is enough. They say things like, I walk every day, I stay busy around the house, I don't sit around too much, and that's all good, it's great. But here's the problem. Activity maintains, it does not build reserve. If your body is only ever doing what it's already comfortable doing, there's no reason for it to adapt, no reason for it to get stronger, more capable, or build more reserve. Reserve comes from progressive demand. And this is where people either overcomplicate things or avoid it entirely. Because they think progression means intense workouts, heavy weights, or pushing to exhaustion. It doesn't. Progression just means gradually asking your body to handle a little more than it's used to on purpose. Take something like a sit to stand. You start by using your hands for support, then reduce how much you rely on them, then slow the movement down, then increase repetitions, then add a load. Same movement, different levels of demand. Or carrying, all right? You start with one light bag, then slightly heavier, then 2 bags, then longer distances, and then you go to stairs or uneven surfaces. When you're working on balance, you can start with your hands on the counter, then you take one hand off for less support, then narrow your stance. Then you can add dynamic movements, just different ways of progressing this load and challenge. That's progression, structured, intentional. So if that's what most people are doing, just repeating what's familiar, the real question becomes, what does life actually look like when you build reserve? It's not just that things feel easier, your life becomes less fragile. You're no longer managing your energy or planning around fatigue. Everyday tasks stop requiring your full attention. You just move through them. You could take a longer route, not thinking twice about it. Carry everything in from the car in one trip. Get down to the floor and back up without hesitation. If your day runs longer than expected, it doesn't derail you. If something unexpected happens, your body has something to give. Travel feels different. You're not planning around distance, seating, or recovery. You could just participate. Exercise changes too. You finish with something left. And maybe most importantly, you stop avoiding things. You don't limit your environment to what feels manageable. You don't slowly shrink your world. You expand your capacity so your world can stay open. That's what reserve gives you. Not just ability, but optionality. Because when reserve goes down, life doesn't just get harder, it gets smaller. Loss of reserve doesn't happen all at once. It shows up in small decisions that stack over time. Taking the shorter route, making 2 trips, sitting sooner, avoiding effort, not because you can't, but because you'd rather not deal with it. Over time, your world adapts to match your declining reserve. Things that were automatic become effortful, then planned, then avoided. Your world becomes more predictable, more controlled, smaller. And the hardest part is that people don't notice it happening because they can still say, I can do what I need to do. But by the time you're only doing what you need to do, you've already lost a lot of what was available to you. Reserve is what prevents that. And if you're not building it, it is slowly being reduced. Which brings us to the shift. This is why capacity sits at the foundation of the Happy Manner method, because you can't separate it from the other pillars. Safety depends on it. If something unexpected happens, your ability to respond comes from reserve, not caution. Consistency depends on it. If everything drains you, you can't sustain anything. But with reserve, consistency becomes natural. Longevity depends on it, because long-term independence isn't protected later. It's built now through what your body can handle over time. These pillars are not separate. Capacity supports safety. Capacity enables consistency. Capacity makes longevity possible. And once you start thinking in terms of reserve, you begin to see it all as a system. Instead of overcomplicating this, start with one simple shift. Pick one daily movement and ask, how can I do this in a way that builds a little more reserve? Maybe you stand up with less support, walk a little farther, carry a little more. It will look different depending on where you're starting, but the principle stays the same. You're asking your body to do a little more than it did yesterday, because that's how reserve is built, gradually, intentionally, over time. And as you do that, start paying attention not just to what you complete, but to what you have left over. Because independence isn't about what you do once, it's about what you still have left after doing it. And if rebuilding reserve is something you're actively working on, especially after something like a knee replacement, I put together a total knee replacement guide that walks through how to build strength, movement, and confidence at home in a structured, safe way. You can find it at thehappymanor.com/TKR, and I'll link it in the show notes. Before we close, I want to remind you that everything shared here is for educational purposes only and is not individualized medical advice. Always consult your healthcare provider for guidance specific to your situation. If this episode was helpful, subscribe and share it with someone who values staying independent at home. Independence is built, not guaranteed.